It has been a very long time that we've heard from Republicans and Trump himself that a major reason that Democrats are terrible is because they want to release violent criminals out onto the street. Often, that is a charge levied incorrectly and disingenuously. You have some edge cases of folks with bad policies, of course, but often we've refuted that. But the fact that they make that argument so often means they must understand that there could be cases where if you release someone early and you're willy-nilly with throwing out violent criminals onto the street, as they'd say it, that could end up making communities less safe. But then it's so weird because they would make that argument and now making it a very different one with releasing violent January 6ers. And as we learn more about them and see what has even happened since they were released, it makes clear what I'm saying. This actually relates to something that the guys wanted from something before he was sent to prison for the January 6th stuff. But to characterize who's now in our communities. Again, I'm using some of the language that Trump has used many times whenever he talks about other countries jumping prisoners in the United States. Wrongly. The Independent reports violent January 6th rioter pardoned by Donald Trump being sought on charges of child sex solicitation. The party that wants to take down the groomers. Andrew Taka was released from federal prison despite a formal request by Texas prosecutors to keep him in custody to stand trial. This is the party of law and order, of tough on crime, just saying, let him go. A violent Capitol rioter who was released from prison after being pardoned by Donald Trump is now wanted on separate charges of child sex solicitation. Andrew Taka from Houston, Texas, oh no, so close to where I live, or I'm about to live again, pleaded guilty in 2023 to beating officers with a metal whip and dousing them with bear spray while storming the Capitol grounds. This is the day of love, as Trump described it, the peaceful protest. Do you remember? Have you not been to a peaceful protest where a metal whip is enabled? After being turned in by a woman he chatted with on the dating app Bumble, he was sentenced to 6 years. I remember that story. He gave himself up in talking to a girl on a dating app about the January 6th stuff to 6 years in federal prison plus 3 years of post-release supervision. But now that he's free again, Texas prosecutors are seeking him for trial on charges related to text messages he allegedly sent an undercover cop pretending to be a 15-year-old girl back in 2016. And so you had Texas prosecutors saying, whoa, if you're going to release this guy, don't, because we want to have him stand trial for these charges that we've been waiting on since he was in prison for different charges. And after Trump's pardon, the president went, he's going, he's out, he's gone. And now he's wanted. Now he's on the lam. According to court documents, Taka was already awaiting trial for those messages when he journeyed to the Capitol, ready for violence. Nevertheless, he was freed from federal prison despite a formal request from Texas authorities to keep him in custody. So he'd be tried for the 2016 charge, according to Houston officials. It is just something else. And there's another story that ends tragically that I want to talk about. But first, remember that the new attorney general tasked with enforcing the law called the prospect of Trump pardoning violent January 6ers absurd.
January 6th, a lot of people are going to say you're going to have a rubber stamp for letting people have pardons or recommending a pardon for people who did violence to law enforcement. I'm not going to ask you a hypothetical because I want you to be consistent in not answering them. But I have to believe as a member, I was the last member out of the Senate on January the 6th. I walked past a lot of law enforcement officers, who were injured. I find it hard to believe that the President of the United States or you would look at facts that were used to convict the violent people on January the 6th and say it was just an intemperate moment. I don't even expect you to respond to that, but I think it's an absurd and unfair hypothetical here, and you probably haven't heard the last.
Excuse me. I mischaracterized that clip. I was expecting Bondi to do the quote that I saw. No, this is Tom Tillis, the Republican senator, saying that is absurd. Absurd that Trump would pardon violent January 6ers. Well, he did, including one who is now being pursued for his sex solicitation of a minor. Ed Krastenstein breaks down this next story. January 6ers are killed in Indiana. It looks like Trump's January 6th pardons are already starting to get in trouble with the law again. Matthew Huddle, who was recently pardoned by Trump for his role in the January 6th Capitol breach, was fatally shot by a Jasper County Sheriff's deputy during a traffic stop Sunday afternoon. The deputy initiated a traffic stop for an alleged violation. The deputy attempted to arrest Huddle, who reportedly resisted. An altercation ensued during which the deputy fired his weapon, killing Huddle. Huddle was found to have a gun, though it's unclear if he used or threatened to use it. And the Indiana State Police are investigating the incident. The involved deputy has been placed on paid administrative leave. So horrifying stuff there in understanding what has happened since. And remember what Trump just recently said about these folks.
Alien criminal. And of course, I was very proud to pardon the J6 hostages.
Very proud of it. You violently attack a police officer with a metal whip, or you tase them, which is one story, or you punch them with brass knuckles. You did it for Trump. Lindsey Graham mustered, as we talked about before. Just remember, this is the most aggressive criticism we can get from Republican. Even Tillis, who said it was absurd to even ask such a question.
To President Trump's decision to pardon, to give blanket pardons to everyone who was convicted of crimes on January 6th, including the 172 people who pleaded guilty to assaulting law enforcement officers. Even his own vice president said, quote, "If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned." Do you believe that President Trump was wrong to issue these blanket pardons to the January 6th
Number one,
defendants?
he had the legal authority to do it, but I fear that you will get more violence. Pardoning the people who went into the Capitol and beat up a police officer violently, I think was a mistake, because it seems to suggest that's an okay thing to do. Kamala Harris wanted to.
And then what about it? That's the most aggressive criticism we can get. I think I fear that it might be sending the message that it's not an acceptable thing. Really, Lindsey? Stand on something. Stand for something. I also hate that he started with, and I hear this a lot, well, Trump does have the legal authority to do it. Oh, what? Obviously he can pardon them, but why did he do it? Oh, gosh. This is a really, really upsetting time. Trying to hold it in. So that's a little update. Some tragic stuff there. And I'll keep you updated on the rest of those who have been pardoned. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.